Respected devotees, today we are going to discuss about the essence of spirituality. What is in nutshell spiritual science? Because there are so big descriptions of spiritual science, a person gets confused that actually what is spirituality. Nowadays, when we ask anybody this question, what is spirituality? And what I have to do in my life to lead a spiritual life. So many explanations, so many processes are talked about that we get confused. So in nutshell, what is the essence of spirituality? And why we need spirituality? As we talked before, mind is the most complex factor, important factor, and the trouble-giving factor in our life. It is the cause of bondage and it is the cause of liberation also. It is the cause of suffering and it is the cause of happiness. So everything depends upon the mind. So why we need spirituality is to control the mind, to clean the mind, and to bring its frequency to delta, the original frequency in which we were born. So for this, to attain this state of mind, we need spirituality. And unless and until we attain this state of mind, we can't enjoy this life and we can't be satisfied in this life. We are just talking in nutshell. Description is of anything, you can make it elongate as much as we want. But the essence is very, very small, very subtle. And that's why it is called, they say, tattva. Tattva means elementary. What is the elementary knowledge of spirituality? So it says that these three things we need: to clean the mind, to control the mind, and bring its velocity, its speed again to delta, the speed in which a child is born, the frequency in which the mind of a child vibrates when he is born. So that state can be achieved through spirituality. It's through spiritual process, or in simple way called through meditation. Now, people talk about thousands and varieties of meditation. Every spiritual master, his so-called spiritual teachers, they have their own ways of teaching varieties of meditation. But friends, these are man-made meditations. But there is a natural meditation, God-made meditation. These meditation, man-made, are physical meditation, I call it, in simple terms. The meditations in which we have to use our brain, we have to use our senses. And so, because physical things are required, we can term them as physical meditation. But there was a metaphysical meditation, beyond language, beyond brain, beyond senses, and that was not man-made but God-made. And God taught everybody, male or female, any family he is born, any country is born, to any caste he belongs, in the mother's womb, that meditation was taught to all the persons, all the children in the mother's womb. we all practice that meditation. Once the body is complete, after 5 months, then that meditation starts. And every child practices that meditation in the mother's womb. And even when he comes out, he is doing meditation, but unknowingly, without understanding the effect of that, without being conscious that this meditation is so beautiful and so important for me. because his logical brain was not developed. Understanding the importance we can understand through the logical brain, the left part of the brain. And at that time it was not active. The neurons of the left part were dormant. Only the neurons of the right part were active. So when he came out, he had delta wave in the mind. His mind was totally clean. His mind was totally in control. And his right brain was active. The intuitive power was active. These special qualities were in the child. And so, because of the delta wave, he was all the time enjoying life. He was in a state of inertness. And slowly, we lost that meditation. We gave up that meditation. And we became worldly. We became attached to the worldly things. And slowly the speed, the vibration of the mind increased to gradually to theta, then alpha and beta. And in the same way, slowly we became more and more and more unstable. As the speed increased, our instability increased. It's a practical thing. And the more the mind is unstable, more we are unhappy. More the mind is stable, we are happy. If you analyze this, you will find that yes, it is correct. The moment your mind is stable, we feel a kind of happiness. And when our mind is unstable, its speed is in beta, we become unhappy, we have stress and many problems in our life. So the main thing is to control the mind, to decrease its frequency and to get our right brain activated, so that our subconscious mind works, our intuitive powers are manifest, and we live a successful, prosperous and happy, peaceful life. So what we have to do for that, there is a simple answer and there is a simple solution. What we practice in the mother's womb, that we have to practice again. Nothing new we have to do. Friends, don't be fooled, I was so to say, or don't be attracted by the so many decorative speeches of the present spiritual masters, so-called spiritual masters. The essence is the meditation, the metaphysical meditation that we practice in the mother's womb. And we have to just learn that and practice that again. Nothing new we have to do. If you want to do some research, let's do research that what we did in the mother's womb. What was the meditation? On what were we concentrating? What were the experiences in the mother's womb? Which slowly we gave up after coming out in this world. After being born, slowly we give up those experiences. And our ancestors also, sages, the scholars, they've done research on that. Even I had interest, I also used to research the child that really is having the experience. And friends, it's true. A small child, when he closes his eye, he sees light, but he doesn't understand the importance of that light. He listens to the divine music within him, which we call the unstruck music, Anat Nath Brahma, this is called in yoga. But he doesn't understand the importance of that. He experiences the holy name within himself, within the breath, but he doesn't understand the importance of that. Time to time, even he drinks nectar, but also he doesn't understand the importance of that. All these experiences he had in the mother's womb. His third eye was open. He used to meditate on the light within him. He used to listen to the divine music, the beautiful music, without any instrument. You might say, how can it be without instrument? There can be music, but there was a music. And that can happen outside also. Suppose you are speaking through a microphone, and if you increase the volume of the amplifier, a state will come up when without speaking we'll listen to a whistling sound. And when we listen to a whistling sound, the program is disturbed, then we say, okay, please reduce the speed of the amplifier. Reduce the volume of the amplifier. Because there is a feedback, we call it feedback. Feedback means what was going through the microphone, the waves, the sound waves that were going through the microphone, the amplifier amplified them so much that they came back to the microphone. And when the sound waves which went through the microphone comes back to the microphone, that we call feedback, and then there is a natural whistling sound. Nobody is making that sound, nobody is playing an instrument, still we listen to the whistling sound. That we call feedback. Similarly, in the mother's womb, there was a biofeedback. How the biofeedback was happening, let me try to clear it. Of course, you might not understand fully, but it is, we can explain to some extent. The, so to say, waves, energy waves from the consciousness were coming to the mind. This is happening in my life, you know. The energy waves are coming from the soul, from the consciousness to the mind, and from the mind they are distributed to the body parts, to our brain and everywhere. And that energy is distributed. So that's the flow of energy, of consciousness. That's the flow of energy waves, cosmic energy waves. But as the sound waves went back to the microphone, then there was a whistling sound. In the mother's womb, the energy waves that are coming from the conscious to the mind in such a situation, it sends them back to the consciousness. So what happened there? A biofeedback. A reverse process started. And when that happens, we'll listen to the divine music. That's called in yoga books as Nad Brahma. Anhat Nad. Anhat Nad means unstruck music. A music happening automatically. That's what a sage said. He said, there is a dome, a natural dome. And in that dome, music is being played. Something is calling you. Listen to that music and enjoy that music. This is the dome, you know. Our head is the dome. Externally, we make the dome of a mosque or of some other worship places. That dome is man-made, but this dome is God-made. And in this dome, the child listens to the divine music. And during pregnancy, in the mother's womb, his third eye is automatically opened. There must be some natural process or godly process, whatever you may call it. And he experiences that light also, which is called in Gayatri Mantra as Bhargo Jyoti, the light of lights. about which Lord Krishna says, it is neither the light of the sun, nor of the moon, nor of the fire, nor of electricity. It's a self-effulgent natural light. And the child experiences that light. We experience that light. We enjoy that music. And we also drink the nectar. And we also meditate on the holy name. All these things we did in the mother's womb. And that's what is called in Bhagavad Mahapurana that Ved Vyasa was initiated by Narad, and he gave him a metaphysical knowledge of 4 slokas. Chaturshloki Gyan, they say it. That was not physical slokas, friends. That was the spiritual experience he imparted to the sage Ved Vyasa. And while explaining those experiences, the book, the sacred book, Srimad Bhagavad Mahapuran, was written by him. The essence of Bhagavad Mahapuran is also those practices that we did in the mother's womb. Nothing new. And that we have to again practice. Because when we came out, as we didn't understand the importance of those experiences, we went to the duplicate one. Instead of tasting the nectar within, we started tasting honey, we started tasting milk, we started tasting the external different tastes. And slowly we gave up the taste of that nectar. We stopped drinking that nectar. Similarly, we gave up that music. And when a child weeps, you know what the mother does. Previous mothers in old times, they used to ring a bell or do some other musical instruments. Nowadays, we just on the tape recorder, on the mobile also nowadays, and we just play a music. As soon as the child listens to the music, he becomes silent. He enjoys the music. So instead of the inner music, we started enjoying the external music. Through the third eye, he used to meditate on that light. When he came out, these eyes were open and we saw the external light. And if we study a child in the dark, he is weeping. Suppose you put on a light and suppose you put on a lamp and the child is looking after the lamp. As you move the lamp, the child will move his eyes. That proves that he is already acquainted with the light. He doesn't understand the importance of the light, but he is acquainted with the light. But there is a difference between the external light and the inner divine light. Vast, a big difference. This light is physical, that light is metaphysical. So friends, because we use this eye much and we didn't use the third eye, because of not being used, because of not being used, what happened? Slowly the third eye, that point became dormant. There is a system of the body. Suppose you are not using this hand, you are just keeping it silent, stable, unmoved. What will happen? Slowly the flow of blood will stop and this hand will not be working. It start becoming dormant. Anything, if you don't use it, it becomes inactive. So the same thing happened with the third eye. We stopped using the third eye, we started using this eye very much. The result was that the third eye became dormant. And by the age of 10, 12, the eye become totally dormant. By the time the logical brain is developed, we started understanding the importance of things, but by that time, those divine experiences became hidden, became, what we call, that became, now we were not experiencing those divine experiences. That was, our connection with that was lost, and we became extrovert. Instead of remaining introvert, we became extrovert. Our ancestors knew that, and that's why these things called, in Hinduism they call Upanan Sanskaram, Janu Sanskaram, in Christianity we call baptism. All these processes, all these named processes of initiation, given by, gave different names to that. It's by different names, it doesn't mean that the process changes. But these processes were actually to reinitiate the child once his logical understanding develops, with the same experience, with the same meditation that we practiced in the mother's home. Nothing new. These rituals were created for that. But afterwards, when the truth was lost, when the master, the so-called spiritual masters, they didn't have the potential to impart that metaphysical experience which we had in the mother's womb, they started making a ritual physical. Instead of opening the third eye, we were asked to utter the Gayatri Mantra by mouth, in which we are praying, "Oh God, I am meditating on your light." We are not meditating, just speaking from the mouth. Just like I am not drinking water, but I am saying I am drinking water, let my thirst be quenched. Friends, just by saving neighbor, my thirst will be quenched. I have to drink water. Similarly, actually we should have meditated on the third light through the third eye after the initiation. But in the initiation process, they don't open the third eye. Even if we ask, please open my third eye, they will say, oh, it's a very difficult process. You have to do this process, this meditation for so many years, then it will be open. I put a question to the so-called teachers, so-called intellectuals, so-called philosophers. Without getting the third eye open, on what will you meditate? If I don't have object of meditation, on what shall I meditate? They will say, we will give you a physical object. Friends, I agree. If we meditate on a physical object, what we will call that meditation? A physical meditation. Physical meditation can never control the mind permanently, can never clean the mind, can never activate our right brain, and can never bring us to delta. All these things will not happen with the physical meditation. Many of you have tried, and many are still trying with the hope that I'll get these experiences. Friends, it will never happen. I'm not trying to criticize or demoralize you or to, frustrate you. It's a reality I'm talking. The reality is the mother's womb meditation, nothing else. God gave us the cream, the essence during that moment. And He instructed us, you keep on meditating after even you get out of this womb. When you are born in the world and when you live in the world, keep on these practices, continue these practices. And because logical brain was not developed, that's why the rituals were there, created by our ancestors, to teach us that metaphysical meditation, in which the object of meditation is not physical but metaphysical. Metaphysical means no need of brain, no need of senses, and no need of languages. External, nothing is required there. And it was taught in young age, around the age of, below the age of 15, or we might say around the age of 15. The age factor were 1-2 years sooner or later that was from different to different caste and different societies, you know. But it was average, below 15 it was taught. Around the age of 15 it was taught. And after that, he was asked to meditate on that. You know what we call the boarding schools now. In previous times, they were called as Gurukul in Hinduism. In other sects also they must have been calling by some names. But at that time, along with the physical education, along with the worldly education, the spiritual education was given, and they were asked to meditate, they were taught to meditate. And when a child practices meditation during that period, it is just a revision only. What we did earlier, we are doing it again. So it was very easy for him. And to rise up the Kundalini, people nowadays talk about Kundalini very much. It's what, friends, Kundalini? It's the power, block power at the pelvis. Suppose a coil is a power is going on from the top to the bottom, and it has to return up to the top. But there it got blocked up, and it took the form, a coiled form. Kundalini means coiled up. To make us easy understand it, suppose you press a coil, press a spring, and connect the two corners of the spring, join them. The potential energy remains in that, and when that is opened, the mouth is open, it turns into kinetic energy. So Kundalini is the potential energy lying at the base of the spine, and when through that metaphysical meditation, the mouth is opened, that energy rises up. And as we do more meditation, as we practice more, it goes up and up and up, and reaches the Agya Chakra. And from there, it's this journey we have to do more labor, and then if you could take it to the crown chakra, that's the end, that is the ultimate. That's the state of merging, at that there's the state of delta state also. So that got blocked up, and that is to be recycled, reopened and take to up. So all this is possible through metaphysical meditation. So friends, the essence is, again I am repeating, the pure meditation, the best meditation, and the only way to attain liberation. There are no 2 or 3 ways even. There is only one way, and that way is the way, the path, the true path, which we followed in the mother's womb. You go anywhere, any master, just ask him a question. Is it true a child practices in the mother's womb? Most of them will say yes, because it is written in the scriptures. And then just request them, please teach me the meditation that I have already practiced. I did practice in the mother's womb. And if somebody could teach you, practically make you experience that meditation, get your third eye opened, make you experience the light, experience the divine music, make you experience the taste of the nectar and the holy name. That's the ultimate, that's the true path, and that's the essence of spirituality. And that is dharma, which Krishna says, whenever it is lost, I reincarnate to manifest that dharma, manifest that spirituality. And so in every era incarnations come, in every era spiritual masters come, and the true spiritual master is that one which can teach you that primordial meditation, that metaphysical meditation which you practice in the mother's womb. So this is the essence. Now the time is up. So let's, if you have learned this meditation, let's practice it, because if you don't take the meditation, its benefit will not get. And those who are yet to have that experience, that metaphysical meditation, let's try to find out. And I'm always happy to share my experiences to help, so that we can meet the true spiritual master and get the same experiences, relearn that metaphysical meditation which we practice in the Mother's Home. Thank you very much. Thank you everybody. Meet again. Thanks.